Good evening, everyone. This is John Rollins, and we're here for our weekly S.T.R.I.V.E session. S.T.R.I.V.E, strategies to remain informed, strategies to remain victorious, strategies to remain empowered. I pray that you've had a wonderful week. I pray that you had a wonderful Thanksgiving, that you're able to spend time with family and friends, and hopefully just relax and enjoy it. Maybe you ate a lot. I hope you were able to eat everything that you wanted to eat. And now we're on our recovery. And I use the term recovery, but we're exercising and taking better care of our health. But I hope that you had a good time. Maybe it was turkey and ham, or maybe it was fried fish. I don't care what it was. I just hope that you enjoyed your time. I hope that you were able to love on your family members and receive love in return. And we're here for our S.T.R.I.V.E session. All right. So again, S.T.R.I.V.E, strategies to remain informed, victorious, and empowered. And our thought for this evening is, as you may have seen, lids and labels. Lids and labels. And I don't know if you all can see it, but I have two bottles of soda on the here for us to use kind of as our props for today. And you are able to see that we have two, and both of them have a blue lid. Now, what I understand is that many times we're able to identify a product by its lid or by its label. Okay, so I intentionally have the bottles in a place where you're able to see the lid, but you're not able to see the content. And I'm wondering if you were willing, this being my right, this being my left, if you're able to guess what product I'm displaying. And you may have some idea from the blue lid, you may have some idea of what, or you may be able to eliminate certain things, but I wonder how accurately are you able to identify what it is just based on the lid. And you say, John, what are you talking about? I'm saying how much we put our identity at the expense of someone else. And expense may not be the word that I want, but we depend on labels or lids, or we look for an easy way to come up with identities for our own personal identity, and just kind of we look to be claimed, or I don't want to keep using the word identified with, but just how much the lid or the label has a role in helping us to distinguish. I think that's what I want to say, helping us to distinguish one thing from another. All right, and so again, by looking at the lid, you're able to probably eliminate certain things. But I'm pretty sure that just at this point, you may not be able to accurately identify something from just the lid. Again, you may be able to remove certain things from the possibilities, but how accurately can you identify what it is just from looking at the lid? All right. So on my right, we have a product, and it's a sun-kissed orange. All right. Now, did that help anybody come up with what maybe on my left? On my left, we have Pepsi, both with blue lids, okay, but different content. Many times, people at a glance, they will identify some of the similarities that we have with others or people around us. And because of that, they may start making assumptions about what our content is. There's an old saying that we are guilty by association. They say birds of a feather flock together. And some of that, there's truth to it. There's some truth to it. Okay, but the danger is, and I see that we're buffering a little bit, hopefully we're okay. But the danger is we try to identify specific things or people based on just a surface or outer property, for lack of a better term. All right, but guess what? In this case, I can take this lid off of this container, put it over here, put this one on there. I can change the lids, and it has no impact on the content. All right. So hopefully that was easy, and we'll come back to that. We also have another lid here, and many of you again probably can come to some type of conclusion based on the green lid of what the content is. All right, maybe. So, Sprite, okay? So, but here's the thing. These have the lids, and I've been able to show you from the label what the content is. This, I showed you the label, but guess what? There's no content. And so if you only were depending on the label, you would have misaccurately identified what this is, because it's a bottle, but there is nothing inside of it. Sometimes we will give people titles, and we will give people names, and we will assume certain qualities about them just based on the label, the title that we give them. But inside there's little value, or in many cases, no value. The content isn't there. And they may deserve the title, but they have to be also worthy of the substance. I remember hearing or reading a quote, and it says that the sugar on the donut is good, and in and of itself the sugar has some value. Okay, but the sugar without the donut is not quite the same. You can have the sugar, but you may want the donut a little bit more than just the sugar. All right, we can have titles and labels and ways to try to identify individuals, but many times that label does not give us a full picture of what the content or the value of the individual. And I purposely did this because sometimes we can take the label off. We can completely remove the label. And I can do that with these. And just by removing the label, the content is still there. There's some of us who, we may not have a title, we may not have a label, but we have value. We bring value to the situation. Our content, we have substance. Our contributions are great. And we can do it even without. We don't need the title. We don't need the label. Okay? We don't have to be identified with a particular brand or a particular source. Yeah, because why? Because the value isn't on the name that we have, the name that we bear. The value isn't on how we identify. The value is on our content, on who we are and what we bring to the situation. Now, some of us, when we get labels, we have the ones that we can either identify, and we can remove the label with some. And then there are some situations where the label is a permanent fixture based on some of the decisions that we make. Okay, regardless of what we try to do, that's how we're going to be identified. Value or no value, the label remains. Okay. Now, I was thinking about what are some of the labels that we assign to ourselves or we assign to others. Okay. Anyone here ever heard someone say, "Well, I'm an addict"? Okay, that's a label. Okay. Are you an addict? Or is that just a quality of your character that you're working on? I mean, it can be changed. We can swap out. We can swap out the label. We can take this label and take that label. Okay? We can change the label. Is that who you are, or is that just how you are identifying, or how others may have identified you? Maybe you're a parolee. Maybe you're a single parent. Or maybe you are a divorcee. Maybe you are a recovering whatever. Okay? Labels. Ways that we allow people to identify us. And here's the thing. I'm asking you, if you are going to wear a label that speaks to the quality of who you are. Okay? And if someone has given you a label that no longer speaks to your value or your content, take that label off. Remove that label. You don't have to be what other people, I don't have to be, we don't have to be what other people say we are. I think it was a Madea film, and I'm not a big Madea fan. Okay, but I remember hearing this in one of those things that she, movies or whatever she did. She said, "It's not what people call you," and you probably heard me reference this before. It's not what people call you, but it's what you answer to. And so, are we allowing people to pigeonhole us or categorize us, and many times falsely, inaccurately? Because instead of us demonstrating the worth that we have or bringing our value out and putting on display, we just allow people to, through their own prejudicial or stereotypical names or ways of trying to group us, we just accept their words over our lives. Your children, maybe it's your child, that no good child of mine. That's a label. My child is slow. That's a label. My child is not athletic. That's a label. Okay, my husband is no good. That's a label. Okay, but we can also, if you're going to label the child, if you're going to label your spouse, if you're going to label yourself, put a label on you that represents your value, represents your worth. And so I was working with some students earlier today. And this was a classic example for me of why I will not allow people in my presence to assign negative or, in my opinion, inappropriate labels to themselves. So there were a group of students, and I had put a math problem on the board. And one of the first things this person says, "I'm not good at math. I'm not good at math. I can't do math. That is not my area of strength." And whether there may be some truth to it or not, I don't know. Okay, but I don't want the person where I'm not good at it. Now, I may not perform to the level that I believe that I'm capable. I may not perform to the level that others may perform to, but that doesn't make me bad at it. I'm developing, I'm growing, I'm becoming a better student. I'm becoming better at it. That's my statement of myself. I remember hearing, and I may have told you all this about, I may have told you this in a previous slide. I remember hearing a person when asked if he could play the piano. And he said, "I don't know." I said, "What do you mean you don't know?" He says, "I never tried." Okay, it's possible that the stuff that we think we're not good at, if we tried it, we could be good at it. All right, I think that was on last week when we were talking about that. But the label, if you're going to assign yourself a label or a lid, the lids for me, the lids are the things that I say I have, and I start claiming sicknesses. I start claiming diseases. I start claiming stuff that is not mine. Okay, you don't have to have arthritis. You don't have to have ADHD. These are you don't have to have them. You don't have to own those things. Now, if you choose to own them, that's your call. But you can also say the things that are stated in the scriptures. Yes, if you're going to label yourself as victorious. Label yourself as healed. Label yourself as an overcomer, more than a conqueror. Label yourself as triumphant. Yeah, if you're going to label yourself with terms that build you up and not tear you down. You don't have to take my advice on it. You don't have to take my recommendations. I'm okay if you don't. But I believe if it's true, and I believe that it is, if it's true that death and life are in the power of the tongue, and that we're going to consume, we're going to become what we say. Say things that speak life. Okay, use labels, use ways to identify yourself that demonstrate you're good. All right, we don't have to be what other people say we are. We don't have to conform to the identities that's been placed on us by society, by our ill-informed teachers or relatives or friends or enemies. We don't have to become what other people say that we are. You all know I wrote a book that says you are who God says you are. If anybody is going to give you an identity, allow it to be what God has said about you. All right? And he tells you that you are loved. He tells you that you're precious. He tells you that you're redeemed, that you're an heir, that you're free, that you're pure, that you're unique. He tells us that we are blessed, that we are his child. Okay? Those are labels. If you're going to take labels that speak to who you really are, because you are who God says you are. And God says that you are important. All right? Hey, you all be blessed. All right? Hopefully we'll see you next week. Bye. Maybe we won't be here next week. Next week we may be doing some other things. So if we're not here next week, we'll catch up with you when we get back. Bye.